legendary weekend in the Lou. PGA Tour champions compete in the Stifel Charity Classic, presented by Compliance Solutions, September 4th through 7th, and COAR. Perform live with your Friday ticket. Visit StifelCharityClassic.com today.
It's the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central. Glad you're here. Glad you're joining us on the YouTube. Hey, click on that old subscribe button and get all the different notifications when you want to be with us every single morning or afternoon or evening or middle of the night. Whenever you want to watch us, you can here on the Randy Karraker Show. And by the way, you can find us on all your podcast platforms too. How you doing, sir?
This is fantastic.
Hey, he's had a great morning. So what was the best part of your morning, Matthew?
That no one had a recorder in my car.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so Matthew had a doctor's appointment on August 21st, 2026.
It was supposed to be today. Today's is August 21st, 2025. So that did not happen.
Somebody messed up.
Yes. And then just some.
We got to hear the doctor's office story first.
Yeah. So I get to the doctor's office today, and I have a appointment. I say, hey, I'm here for my appointment. They say, well, she's not here today. We don't have you down for an appointment. I go, well, it says August 21st. That's what they told me. And they go, oh no, she accidentally scheduled you for August 21st, 2026, which is a year from today. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. No big deal. Mistakes happen. When can I get in to see the doctor? And they said, well, we are booking dates right now in 2026.
That's unbelievable.
It's August. There's 5 more months left in 2025.
Come on, medical community, be better.
So I didn't get in to see the doctor today.
And then you got on the road.
And then I got on the road, and it was a banner day for St. Louis drivers today. I tell you what, from the Prius in the entrance ramp, giving 40 feet of space in bumper-to-bumper traffic, to the Suburban in the left lane that after bumper-to-bumper traffic opened up, decided it was okay to drive 60 exactly in the far left lane. Yes, I'm really happy that there wasn't a recorder in my car, because people would look at me differently if they ever heard that.
Okay, one quick note before we get to, before we get to the real content of this fabulous program, and that is that back in the day, and I think this has probably changed with the advent of so many electric cars, but for many years, the Prius was the vehicle of choice for gangs because they were so quiet.
Yeah, you could roll up.
And you could roll up and do a drive-by and nobody would hear you coming.
I shouldn't laugh at that, but
that's pretty funny.
It's literally an office joke.
Yeah.
He literally runs over Andy runs over Dwight because as Oscar says, it's under 30, it's whisper quiet.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that the Prius was like, well, I'm on the highway and the traffic's not going very fast, so I can go 10 miles per hour and just use my electric battery and not have to use my gas.
Yeah.
And I love electric cars, but
okay,
close the gap.
We're presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. The crown this morning belongs to you, Mama, who's with us every single day, and we appreciate you, Mama. He says, I parlayed Randy's Alcantara over 4.5 strikeouts pick yesterday at 9. With Gino Suarez to go yard, and I won $500. That baby. Let's go, you mama. Glad you're using DraftKings Pick 6, and we'll talk about that later on in the program. We're excited about that. Yes, Sandy Alcantara did indeed have 9 strikeouts, and the Marlins knocked off the Cardinals by a score of 6-2. Alcantara looks like he did when he won his Cy Young Award. I don't think Andre Pallante is ready to win a Cy Young Award at this stage. Goes 5 1/3, allows 8 hits, 5 earned runs, and just 4 strikeouts to 3 walks. And he's looking more and more like and here's the thing with him. Well, in 2025, 2026, he'll be fine. But I like my back of the rotation guys. I was going to say he looks like a back of the rotation guy. I like my back of the rotation guys to be able to give me like 180 innings. I don't know if he's that guy, though. I don't know if Pallante is a guy that is going to be a 180 inning guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because, we're only really into year 2
Yeah, he's never done
of
this
him
before.
being this kind of pitcher. I mean,
Right.
he didn't become this pitcher until the second half of last season. So we're really like moving. We've seen the first full year of Pallante as a legitimate starting pitcher in your rotation. This is technically only year 2 of him doing it here as we move into August and September. So I'm willing to give him a lot of grace on the innings total and how he's pitching now with his innings, because I know people don't like this, but every number tells you that he is not just above average, he is borderline elite at getting soft contact and grounders.
Yep.
And so those numbers will play. The innings will come along to a guy as, again, he moves through his second year of having this profile as a starting pitcher. That's why I think it would be way too early. For instance, this could be Ben here jumps in. Pallante might have lost his 26 rotation spot for two things. One, they don't have the bodies for him to lose his rotation spot this fast. And two, he's just, there's too many good underlying numbers that were provable before you hit the 120 inning mark for the Cardinals to look at and say, if we can keep lengthening him out and get him to 180 innings, he might be able to be that guy. It's obviously there's still plenty of room for that to fall apart, but there's still a lot of reasons why they give him the chance next year to lengthen again by another 20 to 40 innings.
And I've given my example before. For me, a number one is a guy that's win day for you. That is when that guy goes to the post, you plan on winning that game. And then a number two, you should plan. Sonny Gray, I think, is an ideal number two, where you plan on winning most times when he goes to the mound. So that to me makes Pallante probably a 3 or a 4, which isn't a bad thing. But I just hope that he can give you. He's at 128 innings now. I hope that he can become a guy that makes. What would it be if he averaged 6 starts and did it over 30 starts in 6 innings? Okay, you guys are the math whizzes. So let's just do this. I was doing the schedule this morning, by the way, with realignment. I'm weird.
You were doing the schedule this morning with realignment?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So that'd be 6 innings a start for 30 starts to be 180 innings.
Yeah.
How about that? So that's what you need. That's what you need from that guy. Yeah, I was using my calculator to figure out the best realignment schedule.
Oh, we're going to talk. We're going to talk about that later. Then,
it's not perfect, but it's the best that they could do.
And you know what? I will say this: why the numbers. Maybe you should be pessimistic about, because let's be honest about this. I'll be honest about this as well, because last year it was a 3.78 ERA, 20 starts, and 121 innings pitched. He's in 4 more starts this year. He's only gone 7 more innings total. He's at 128 innings. So he hasn't been overall across the 20 plus starts more efficient this year. And he has a 5.04 ERA. So there are reasons. The WHIP's a little bit higher, the FIP's a lot higher, the ERA plus, which just kind of tries to give you that one number to compare him to the rest of the league. He was 9% better last year. He's 17% below this year. But his strikeout to walk ratio got better. He's allowed a lot of home runs this year. That's been the big thing that's been the issue for Pallante. Is last year he averaged about a half a home run per 9 innings. He's at 1.2, double what he was, his 0.6 of last year. So there are numbers, for being fair, because there's a lot. Again, all the ground ball numbers tell you he can be this guy. He can be a 4 or 5. But there are reasons, in fairness, to wonder, to your point, if he's already falling apart again for the second year in a row at 120, 130 innings, and these haven't been a better 130 innings than last year, are there reasons to be worried? And I'll give you that there are some.
And I think there are also issues. Clearly, we know that there have been issues with the development of Cardinal players, and that means pitchers too. And it seems pretty obvious to me that the Cardinals have not done a great job of conditioning their pitchers to throw a ton of innings. And I know analytics people hate the idea of a pitcher going through a lineup a third time. I'm not asking Pallante to do that. They hate the idea of pitchers going much over 100 pitches per outing. That's fine. But I do think there's also a place in baseball for pitchers to be conditioned to give you 180 innings. I don't think that that's asking too much. And 150 is a number that a lot of the analytics people like now. I think if you're going to have a front of the rotation guy, middle of the rotation guy, you're going to have a decent starting staff. You want to get a lot of innings. And I'll also throw this out there, that the team that Chaim Bloom fell in love with when he became a baseball fan was the 93 Phillies. And Chaim Bloom can tell you all about the 93 Phillies. And I'm sure that he can tell you that Curt Schilling went 235 in the third innings, that Danny Jackson went 210 in the third, that Tommy Green threw 200 innings, that Terry Mulholland threw 191, and that Ben Revere, their fifth starter, threw 163 innings. There is a lot to be said in terms of protecting bullpens, which you use a lot, by getting 6 innings out of your starters. And I do think that that's something that Chaim understands, is getting innings and conditioning pitchers. And there's no better man for the Cardinals to have in their employ that brings a package to the table in terms of helping players condition themselves to be a horse and to think through a game and maybe even be able to pitch into the lineup a third time. No better guy than Chris Carpenter. It's a crime that he's not in the Cardinal organization, and he'd be perfect for that. Remember, well, you might not remember this, but when Lance Lynn first came up, okay, so Lance Lynn is here in 2011, and you remember in the World Series, he was big Lance Lynn, and he stayed in town with Carpenter for the entire offseason of I think it was 2011 going into 2012, because Chris really wasn't around much after 2012. In terms of being a Cardinal pitcher, he wasn't around at all after 2012. But so Lynn was running the steps and stuff with Carp every day, and he became Skinny Lance Lynn. Now,
I remember this.
Yeah, Skinny Lance Lynn wasn't as good, but he was conditioned. He was ready to go. And I think Chris Carpenter would be a great guy to help young pitchers become conditioned to throwing a lot of innings and being durable.
I believe this is like the dozenth time that we've been like, how do we solve the Cardinals? Convince Chris Carpenter to come back.
Maybe Chaim Bloom can do that
because he's with the Angels right now, isn't he?
Yeah, it's
come on, Chris, come on.
Okay, so during the pandemic,
we'll pay for the house in California.
Yeah, little inside baseball. The Cardinals had 4 guys on their payroll that were helping out minor leaguers and kind of roving around and just helping out minor leaguers. Those 4 guys' names at the beginning of the pandemic were Jim Edmonds, Chris Carpenter, Ryan Ludwig, and Jason Isringhausen. They're making about $50,000 a year. They all had enough money. They just love baseball. They wanted to help the Cardinals, love the organization. Pandemic starts, Cardinals fire all 4 of them. And when the pandemic is done, they only bring back 2. And Izzy is still in the organization, and they're lucky to have him. Ludwig is still in the organization, lucky to have him. But they decide not to use Jim Edmonds as a coach in the system anymore. And they decide not to use Chris Carpenter for $50,000 a year.
That's insane. See, and that's my thing about why I still criticize the misallocation of the resources. Like, I understand that that John Mozeliak wasn't given as many resources to allocate, but that's to me why failing to invest in the minor leagues is so, in my opinion, such a red flag, because what are you able to do at the major league level with $50,000? Or what are you able to do with, let's say 6 different people at $50,000 each? What are you able to do at the major league level with $300,000? It's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. Expand it to $1 million. You can't do anything with $1 million in Major League Baseball. You can do a lot in the minors. They misallocated the resources in the worst way possible.
Yeah, and it's a shame that when you're talking about a system, and maybe this was, because they were counting pennies in that minor league system. And when you talk about Mo being given a finite amount of money, and he felt like he had to decide, okay, do I have a minor league system or do I have a major league payroll? And obviously he chose the major league payroll, even though it didn't work out that well. But when you're paying people like Andrew Miller $11 million a year, or paying Brett Cecil $7.5 million, you pay Brett Cecil $7.5 million. I think the first game of the pandemic year, you might have cut him, or maybe it was the first year after the pandemic in 21. But either way, you give him $7.5 million to go away, and then these 2 really valuable coaches, commodities that you could have had for $100,000. a total drop in the bucket. It's kind of a weird move on the part of the club to pinch pennies that way.
This is why I love our chat. We get great things like BB coming in here. Only 21 pitchers in Major League Baseball hit 180 innings last year. So should you move your bar down on a guy like Pallante down to, I'll have to see where the glut of innings come in. I have imagined 160 probably. That number goes from 21 to like in the hundreds, but I'll check that.
No, I still want my guys to throw innings.
But if you're talking about how the Cardinals are thinking about this, baseball, it's copycat league. If the Cardinals see how, and especially with the push, and let's two sides of the same coin here, we're talking about how we keep players more healthy, and the Cardinals figured that out. And if so, the way to do that is to manage innings better. Then maybe it's fair to say if no one in baseball is pitching 180, move the bar down a little bit because then you get more health.
But then, well, do you get more health for your bullpen though?
It's been more healthy. It hasn't been as healthy as your starters this year, but the bullpen's been fairly healthy as well. I mean, John King went down, and that was not even an arm issue.
Yeah, I feel like you need to at some point you're going to have to protect somebody. Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
And unfortunately, it's let me get this. I think if we look at the guys too, I think we'll. Yeah,
I'm getting it up right now.
Illustrative of.
So if you look at 2024, all the pitching here, as we get to player standard pitching. So the cutoff, the last number 21, the bottom of it is Bryce Miller, J.P. Sears, Kevin Gossman, Christopher Sanchez, Brandon Pfaadt, Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, Cutter Crawford, Pablo Lopez, Cole Reagans, Jake Irvin, Dylan Cease. That's the bottom half of those 21.
Yeah. So, and then at the top, Logan Gilbert, really good. Seth Lugo, really good. Logan Webb, really good. Zach Wheeler, really good. Nola, really good at 199 innings. Corbin Burns, really good. Jose Barrios, really good. Scooble, really good. Kirby, really good. And then see, having that gives me hope that Logan Gilbert and George Kirby, developed by the Cardinals minor league pitching instructor Matt Pierpont, makes me feel better that those guys did give innings last year. Then Cease.
The 100th most innings thrown in Major League Baseball last year was 124.
So
right outside of what Andre Pallante pitched at 120. So, I mean, if you think about the math, talk about a top four, 30, let's talk about the 30 teams aren't all good. Let's say there's 20 competitive teams every year in baseball. So 20 times, we're talking about a top 80 pitcher is what you're looking for. And the top 80 pitchers last year in baseball pitched 142 innings.
Okay. Yeah. And that's, some of those guys are going to be the Blake Snells of the world. And what I'm talking about is the guys that have, for me, a 3, 4, 5 progressively, they're more there to protect the rest of the team. The front of the rotation guys, the Blake Snells of the world, give you 5, 5 1/3, strike out a bunch of guys, and then leave it to the bullpen. But you almost always have a lead in those games because they're so good. If you bring up, and maybe Quinn Matthews is a bad example because he did throw a lot of innings last year. But if you bring up a Liam Doyle right away and you say, okay, you just go as hard as you can for as long as you can, and he gives you 5 every day, every 5th day, and he's super effective and turns it over to your bullpen, that's kind of what a number 1 is now.
Yeah.
So a back of the road, Miles Michaelis is a quintessential back of the rotation guy. You win half the games he starts. You never know what you're going to get, but he does give you 200 innings a lot.
We got a very, very niche comment here that I wanted to look at. Jeremy Davis, because this is fascinating to me. Jeremy Davis says Pallante is a sinker baller. If he doesn't get the low strike call, he's in trouble. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm looking at Andre Pallante's Baseball Savant, and he throws. And Randy, tell me how rare this is or how common this is. Mm-hmm. He throws a very distinctly rising sinker ball. Mm-hmm. Like his sinker is a rising pitch. In fact, the only pitch of his that really breaks downwards is his curve. His slider and his fastball are pretty even. You can see right there. His sinker raises, which is not uncommon. Andrew Heaney had one of the best sinker balls in Major League Baseball, and his was a rising sinker. But it's just an interesting comment because Jeremy Davis' comment there, maybe go find Pallante's profile, and his profile just it says a little bit differently because, and if you look at the 4 sinkers he threw last night, all of them were high and outside, trying to get people to chase high and outside. So I'm not sure. Like he definitely gets the low contact, but I just don't think it's from a sinker necessarily. Just something that jumped out to me that I thought was a little fascinating.
So, and maybe that's why we need to have the robot umpire.
Oh, okay. I see your point. He did miss the if you look at the game log on Baseball Savant, he missed the area on all 4 of them.
Oh, really?
It was 100% trying to get people to chase, or it rose a little bit out of his thing. But Paul Skeens also has a little bit of a rise on his sinker ball as well.
Skeens is pretty good.
Paul Skeens is pretty good. I just wasn't. I guess for me, I also kind of wanted your on the commonality of rising sinkers.
Yeah, that doesn't. It seems counterintuitive to me.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive to me that it's called a sinker, and yet the break is up and over and not more. I thought because the sinkers kind of died off the last few years relative, and I kind of wondered if that was because with sliders and sweepers you didn't need it, but if everyone's sinker's going up, I guess that makes sense why it's coming back.
I was always amazed at Jordan Hicks throwing 103 mile an hour sinker because that ball did legitimately sink.
Yes, that's actually a fun one.
Pretty amazing.
I want to look at his baseball savant.
Jens, why don't they teach him new pitches? He throws 97. He should be striking guys out. That's the thing. You know, you're thinking about a guy like Jordan Hicks throwing 100, and he didn't strike guys out either. It's a new pitch doesn't. You'd like to be able to teach him a new pitch to strike guys out, but it doesn't always happen. Bill Downton, Tink will never throw more than 1 inning bullpen. 1 inning like ever in his career. I don't know. He has not been healthy. I would be surprised if at this stage, if Tink Hence will ever be a major success. So sad, 45-45. Adam Wainwright and Miles Michaelis was using the sticky stuff there for their successful accomplishments. Yeah, it was allowed back in the day. It's not allowed anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, the sticky stuff is a good thing. Adam actually admitted to us that, and you know what? He tried it, and he just didn't like it. So I don't know that it contributed to his success because he wanted to have a better feel of the ball, and the sticky stuff didn't give him a great feel. I don't know. I've never heard Michaelis talk about it, but that absolutely be the case. Thing about Michaelis was, I think the game was different in 2018. He was filling up the zone when it was more of a pitch to contact league. And now here we are 7 years later. If you fill up the zone, people are making contact with their launch angle and hitting the ball out of the ballpark 6 times in Chicago.
Pallante's motion always seems to be the issue to me. He doesn't seem to hide the ball at all. He raises it high in the air and throw. Seems easy to follow. He does a fairly high and away arm angle. That's a very good point.
It's not unlike.
Think about that.
It's not just like, but it's not unlike Michael Wacha. And Michael Wacha was very successful. I think it's more what the ball does when it comes out of your hand rather than. And you're right. It's better to be able to hide the ball for as long as you can, but what you want to do is get movement. And with Wacha, remember how that ball would sink that because he had that big old overhand. And Pallante, yeah, he does have the big old overhand, but I don't know if it's that the hitters are getting a good look at it. It seems like the ball just sits there a lot for Andre.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think his fastball probably doesn't move enough. Looking at some of the numbers right now. And that's interesting to me. Graham, one time LaRussa put Lance Lynn in just an issued intentional walk.
Yeah. So sad, 45-45. I disagree with you, Randy, about Adam, but I respect your opinion. That's what Adam told me. And maybe you have other information, but what Adam told me when all of this stuff was happening remember how Garrett Cole was whining about how they wouldn't let him use it anymore. And it was a big thing. Trevor Bauer. Oh, sign Trevor Bauer, by the way. But Trevor Bauer was able to hold his hand with the ball stuck to it. And then they outlawed it. And we had Adam on the show, on our radio show every week. And Adam talked openly about how he had used it at one point and just didn't like the feel. So that is the fact that I have because I spoke to the guy. If you have different facts, I would love to hear them. Thank you.
You brought up ABS and so sad, 45-45. MLB uses ABS in 2026. It's going to be fair game for the fans because umpires are so narcissistic when calling strikes and balls most of the time. You can't question their strikes and ball calls. It's in the rules. You're not allowed to do that.
Can I give you one of my pet peeves about baseball?
Yes, please.
That they have umpires in the replay booth in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Claves and John Rooney, I think, made this point last week that there was a play at first base in a Cardinal game, and the crew chief was the guy who made the call, and it looked like the Cardinal runner was safe, and the call on the field was out. And in New York, they called him out, and they said, "Hey, the umpires there, they're like current umpires. They aren't going to overrule a crew chief." And I've always thought, okay, the umpires aren't going to do anything to make their own look bad, so they're going to agree with the call that the umpire made because they're buddies. And I agree that that's a major problem. I don't know why. Like, we're sitting in our man caves, and we've all got big screens, and we can all see. Why don't they just have one of us handle the replay for the game? I think it's really stupid to have replay, review, whatever they're called in New York, be umpires that are friends with the people that are making calls on the field.
That's such a broken, stupid system, and them not being able to have the foresight and say, this is a fraternity that's not going to want to make other ones in it look bad.
They're literally in a union together.
Yeah, that's really stupid. And that is the definition of a conflict of interest. I'm sorry. Like, you got to get a third party in there. Yeah. Somebody who's not part of the union anymore, somebody who knows the rules, who's been put through the school, but doesn't have that vested interest in keeping his buddies in a good light because of how they're calling the game and their calls not being overwritten. That's preposterous. How do you shoot yourself in the foot like that? It's so dumb.
It is. And it's like part of the official rules. I think it's even at MLB.com that just don't make any sense to me, because we can all, what it does is it opens up those guys to speculation that umpires would never work against their own by making the right call so that they can make their umpire have the call be right, even when we all know it was wrong.
That's just insane. I don't know how they got to solve it. It's bottom line. You have to do that better, especially if you're going to implement ABS. There has to be some kind of impartiality, some objectivity. You can't be having people play favorites,
right,
and helping their buddies out. I feel like they do.
Good.
We'll find out. Jens, Pallante is not in my 2026 rotation if they want to compete. I would submit that you have a very different thought process about 2026 than the Cardinals do.
Yeah, because I think that the 4 in the rotation are pretty well set. Obviously, Gray with the contract, Liberatore, Pallante, McGreevy. I think those 4 are in. And then who are the other ones? Now, maybe they go sign a free agent. We'll talk a little bit about what they might do to sign free agents in a moment. But are you going to be able to go out and get a guy that's better than Pallante to put in your top 4 that is going to fit within the parameters of your budget? That would be the question I have. I think you're probably going to have a competition, and maybe Matthews will have a chance. Maybe Zach Thompson will get healthy. Maybe some of the other kids will get an opportunity, and maybe they'll sign a minor league free agent or 2. And Kyle Leahy might get an opportunity in the rotation as well. But if Pallante is here next spring on Valentine's Day-ish, when they start spring training, I would be absolutely stunned if he wasn't there in pen as one of the 4 starters. Now, is that going to bode well for winning in 2026? I don't know. I've seen guys get better. I've seen pitchers get better. And I know this guy has good stuff. And I know baseball people really like him. The very first time I ever heard about Pallante was when he made the club out of spring training on opening day of whenever that was. Let me see what it was. And
that would have been opening day 2022.
Okay, so I'm hanging out, name drop, with Mark McGuire.
Yes, you were.
And Big Mac said, "You're going to love this kid." So he went to Cal Irvine, which is right down the street from where Big Mac lives. And he said his stuff is great, and he's going to be a great major league pitcher. He said great, not just good. So here you've got this guy who hit 586 home runs or however many he hit, was a really good hitter and one of the most disciplined hitters in the history of the game, telling me that this guy's pretty good. I'm going to go with it. And yes, he's been up and down this year. Last year, you could argue that once Pallante got to starting, he was the Cardinals' best starting pitcher.
Yeah. Also, we should have all remembered that Mark McGwire knows what he's talking about when it comes to baseball. And as soon as we saw Jordan Walker's heel go up, we should have all had alarms going off in our head, because Mark McGwire says you start at the ground.
The ground is your friend. Yep. And so I try to take that into my golf game. And when I'm screwing up and somebody behind me says, "Hey, your feet are off the ground," I say, "Damn."
I also think you and Mark both have a little bit of a bring a little rage to get an extra 20 yards out of it.
Well, he brings strength and athleticism and natural gifts that I don't have. Sometimes that rage does it for me. I really truly believe that great golfers are born, not made. I think there are inherent gifts that a great golfer has, because you could put me on a driving range next to Jay Delsing or next to Jim Holtgreave or Jay Williamson, any of those guys. We could both stand out, and if we were the same age, got on a driving range in 6th grade and went out there 5 days a week for 10 years, I would still be mediocre, and those guys would be unbelievable because they are gifted and I'm not.
Fair enough. Last thing on the pitching, I put it up there on the screen with Liberatore. He settled in a little bit, but not great. Couldn't get through more than 5. Pallante, again, struggles through 5 1/3. Do we see, because obviously Kyle Leahy's been struggling as well, do we see some kind of piggyback at any point in the rotation, or do you think they're just going to kind of grit their teeth and get through it?
I think with Liberatore, they probably do, just to make him work through that wall. See what happens with young pitchers a lot, and he's 25, and it's his first year of starting a full year at the major league level. Pitchers hit a wall, and sometimes you have to have those guys battle through that wall, and they're never going to be able to do it unless they do it. And so if you want to have a pitching staff that's capable of pitching well in September, they have to battle through this stuff that comes with the dog days. And these mid-August is the dog days, and you just have to fight through it and be able to handle it. And some guys do, some guys don't, but you need to find out. So I'm not concerned about Pallante's arm right now. He's not concerned about his arm. You just have to battle through stuff. And that's what this year is for, is to have both pitchers and hitters battle. They're all really young, and they have to battle through stuff.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Speaking of, you mentioned it, them potentially making some moves in free agency. You alluded to something that might help them make some moves in free agency. Randy, what's that exactly?
Well, so I had a buddy text me last night who has been a long time season ticket holder, a box seat season ticket holder. And he showed me his invoice, and I was flabbergasted because his price last year, this season, for his season tickets for 4 seats in the box seats were $14,614. And this year, he can pay before September 5th, and his price for next year, as opposed to this year's $14,614, will be $16,074. If he pays after September 5th, it would be $16,874. So either a 9.9% increase if you pay before September 5th, or an increase of 15.5% if you pay after September 5th. So here in a third consecutive year, presumably, of the Cardinals not making the playoffs, and in a year after they signed only one free agent, Phil Maton. And by the way, I will say it again, I was completely on board with the Cardinals' approach last offseason. I wanted to find out about the young players. But if the Cardinals are going to have their season ticket holders pay 10 or 15.5% more, I hope that they have a plan to really make the team good, because I would think most people will wait. We are in the show me state after all, and find out what the Cardinals do before they pay. And I think people would be happy to pay the extra 15.5% if the team does things that make season ticket holders believe the team is going to win. But you're wondering, okay, after the last 3 years, if I pay early, what's to guarantee that I won't see the same thing next year? And I think that would be if I were a season ticket holder, that would be the concern.
And it's not just as like there was not 2 off seasons ago, but 2 out of the last 3 off seasons, they have been inert. There has been nothing done in 2 out of the last 3 offseasons.
Well, and then in the other one, you signed Lynn and Gray and Gibson, right?
Yes.
So
I'll give them credit for that one. But
you know what?
It's sandwiched by a year of nothing.
That's the one where they got mad at me for saying you spent a record amount of payroll to finish 500.
Yeah.
So by the way,
right. And by the way, nail on the head there, Randy.
Yeah. The note that I got from my friend who sent me a picture of his invoice was the Cardinals are delusional.
And you know what? And here's the thing: even if you want to get hard economics about this and be like, this is a business increasing prices in an era of inflation and rising prices all around the world, all around the country, and if you just want to go hard from that perspective, that's fine. But the fact of the matter, this is a guy who's spending a very large amount of money.
Yep.
Yearly for the Cardinals. I imagine he's had these tickets for a fairly long time, or maybe not these exact tickets,
but for a long time.
But these tickets for a long time. And he's saying this is a delusional move by the team. And so even if you want to go to the hard economics and say, listen, you have to understand why a business does that. Sure, but you have to understand why the customer is pissed off.
Yeah.
And listen, it's funny how we had to deal with this day because I had to deal with a little bit of a customer service issue. And so it kind of raised my hackles a little bit about situations like this, because the bottom line is, and this isn't new, but if a company lowers the quality of an item, you expect them to lower the price. This happens a lot in high-end clothing brands. They start out and they're producing small amounts, so their production costs are very high, but it's a high-quality product, so they charge a lot of money for it. As it gets more popular, they lower the price so that it becomes more accessible, but then they lower the price because they lower the quality. If something that was being sold for $125 4 years ago is now being sold for $75, the quality got worse, and we all accepted that to pay a little bit less. But sports teams think that they are completely different from businesses whenever they want to be. They're a business until they're not a business. Then they're special, and they get to use your love of their game to continue to raise prices no matter how bad the quality is. I'm not saying they need to lower prices because they've been bad. I'm not saying they shouldn't even raise things relative to inflation or a basic cost of living increase from year to year. Those are reasonable things because everything around them is getting more pricey. But to go for a 10% to 15% bump, when that again is beyond the rise in inflation in most things, at least the reported one, that's bothersome to me. And as Steve Wright says, it feels a little tone deaf.
And I will agree with you because I think, like a lot of people, when I think the Cardinals probably bought into this, Cardinal Nation, best fans in baseball stuff, when the numbers showed clearly that the fans started showing up when the franchise started winning. Best winning fans in baseball, maybe. But yeah, I think tone deaf to what the evidence showed them, because when the team hasn't won in the past, early 90s, 70s, they haven't drawn well. And when they do win, then they do draw well. So that's the correlation that the Cardinals need to make. So yeah, tone deaf in terms of thinking that fans would show up for a team that is not winning big. And you might disagree with me, but I think if you look at the numbers, you'll see that the Cardinals have drawn well when they have won and given their fans the hope that they could win a World Series, because there's a lot of fans out there that judge everything on winning a World Series and don't really care about the journey. And then there are the years where they and the stretches where they aren't really competitive and the attendance drops off.
And so, yes, they could prove us wrong on this one and make a lot of big moves and say, this is why we up the ticket prices. But everything we have in front of us, which is, again, 3 seasons of not winning baseball, 3 seasons of relative inaction on the free agent market, and you're expecting me, like, it's weird to expect fans to see this news and be like, oh, they're going to spend money. It makes sense. It's not like it's not like there's a lockout coming. Totally makes sense that after 3 years, this is when they finally make moves. Obviously, you know what? It makes sense. The Wits are just going to open the keys to the lockbox for the first year GM instead of trusting John Mozeliak, which they clearly did.
And this is an interesting doobie-doo-doo, an interesting chat. Yeah, Cardinals raise season ticket prices. They're doing this for some strategic reason, but I can't figure out what it is. LOL.
Paying for the Arenado buyout?
Well, what did Bill Laurie do before he decided to sell? He
Good
traded Chris
question.
Pronger. He got rid of all of the high-priced players.
Oh,
right?
he made it a more attractive business to buy.
During a lockout.
Oh,
He just, and the Blues came out of the lockout. What did they do? First thing they did was traded Pronger to Edmonton, and he was a big money player. So what do you do when you want to sell a sports franchise? You cut costs. You have a bare bones budget, and you try to make it look like it's an attractive piece of property. You raise ticket prices. Remember the first thing Dave Checketts did when he bought the franchise, and it was moribund. And Dave Checketts raised ticket prices outrageously, and nobody showed up. But and by the way, the DeWitt family, I have no reason to not believe them, but they've been pretty consistent in saying we are not going to sell the franchise, that the franchise is not for sale. Then you hear rumors, the streets start talking, and you hear that the team is for sale. But raising ticket prices, reducing payroll is the kind of thing that a franchise that is up for sale would do.
So, and to your point, because you mentioned shedding the big contracts, the big problem there is that right now you have $36.5 million and $35 million in contracts that refuse to be traded away. Mm-hmm. Wilson Contreras has 18 and 18 and a half left on his next 2 years, refuses to be traded away because he's trying to win for this club. Sonny Gray has $35 million next year, and they both have club options. So I'm obviously assuming they would not take those options heading into the lockout. He has $35 million. So we're talking about $70 million that they can't shed, even though they didn't even hide it. We're trying to shed it. Now, it appeared to us good baseball reasons to shed it, but to your point, those would be in line with other moves we've seen when a team is trying to make themselves more profitable, but they can't shed that $70 million. So let's raise some ticket prices and add some money that way.
Yeah, make the books and the bottom line look a little bit better.
We've got this from Eddie Grant. Almost all businesses in the USA have needed price increases in the last several years due to inflation. Knock it off. I'm talking about a 10 to 15% increase, and that seems in this year. And apparently the reported rate of inflation is around 3% right now, and I'm actually adding on to it what it's reported at 2.7. So that's what I'm saying. This feels like a larger bump than what would have been reasonable and standard for a year-to-year raise, considering all the factors we've been talking about, the lack of inaction across 3 years, and those kind of things.
Right. And again, like Matthew mentioned earlier, baseball likes to tell you that they're a regular business when they have to raise ticket prices, but then they'll tout themselves, we haven't raised ticket prices for 2 years, as a special business when they don't. Or they'll tout themselves as a special business, and this is on the way, by the way, when they ask for either new or upgraded stadiums. And that's on the way with the legislation that Governor Keogh signed into law that allows for funding for stadiums by the state of Missouri. So, that's on the way too. So that's another thing that other businesses, yes, businesses have had to deal with increases because of inflation, but are other businesses having to pay for infrastructure help when they want to upgrade their facilities, or do they get that help from the government?
Sometimes they get help from the government. A lot of big companies do, but small companies sure as hell don't. A lot of the times they might get something here and there, but it's usually might get a small business loan here and there. But yeah, it's a lot of help for the billion-dollar corporations, and that's why. And let's again, if this was a 3% increase on tickets, we wouldn't be saying a word about it. That would be completely reasonable. And if they were a winning club and they were saying because of everything right now and free agency is going to be crazy and we don't have our TV money right now, and so keep showing up and we'll keep showing out for you, that's fine. But there's no proof of that right now. There's no reason for people to believe that's going to happen based on what we've seen for the last 3 years. And again, a big part of this is the fact that there's a looming lockout that has not just us, not just fans, but people all around baseball doubting how much teams are going to spend going into 2026. And that's winning teams, not a team that needs to spend $30 million on 2 pitchers to have a reasonable rotation to expect to win 85 games.
So, yeah. Jen, smart thing to do is, since groceries are too high, lower the food and beverage prices where you can to feed a family of 4 cheap at the game, I would assume. Yeah, not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
And I'm not saying they're not going to come out right now and say, listen, next year we're having all these specials at the ballpark to make it more family friendly. I don't expect that now. I will happily put that away in my back pocket and say, if they don't have something along the lines of come grow with us, like the Blues did, they're screwing it up. They're missing the chance.
Yeah. And I think we also have to keep in mind that, we because people always talk about, oh, it's so expensive and, tickets are so expensive. Well, there are a lot of teams in Major League Baseball, and baseball attendance is up precipitously this year. And there are a lot of teams whose attendance is up this year over last year. So I think we need to kind of move out of our own little ecosystem here and look around and recognize that, sure, times are hard, but why is Cincinnati drawing more people? Why is Kansas City,
Colorado,
drawing more people? Why is Colorado drawing well? They're averaging 29,312 a game.
I bet you their season ticket base isn't 21,000 of that.
Right.
That's the other thing is the Cardinals season ticket base is like 21 grand sold every night. Something tells me the Rockies aren't sitting on that. There's no way they are with the last 10 years of baseball. So. It's impossible the Rockies have 21,000 season ticket holders.
And the Cardinals are about 500 a game behind the Rockies. So it's not substantial, but it does add up.
They're bringing people in, though, off the street to pay game day prices to come in and then buy concessions and things like that. That's the bottom line. They're getting people in. And again, the part is they have the most beautiful backdrop in baseball, in my opinion. Maybe top three. I
think Pittsburgh and San Francisco are both ahead of them. So maybe it's pretty nice.
I mean, you can sit in the 300s. You literally get
you get
an entire panoramic shot of the Rockies. Yeah, nice. I'm just saying it's got to be at least top three.
Yeah, I think ours is better with the arch.
Once they get the hotel fixed.
Oh, that hotel's beautiful.
There are weeds growing out the top of it.
Yeah, so that happens now and then.
Yeah, it's incredible what birds will do. By the way, I'm going to San Francisco. Am I making a mistake not trying to get into watch a baseball game?
You are.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I need to change it.
When are you going?
Next month. Literally, I'll be there a month from today.
Yeah, you should. Okay, good. Yeah, you should try to get into just walking in and
just trying to
the garlic.
I have the entire afternoon on Thursday and Friday completely free with nothing scheduled.
If there's a game, you should go.
I might try to walk in because I've never been to San Francisco. I've obviously never been there.
And a day game is even better so like a Thursday day game if you can get the opportunity to
go there. I'm gonna take a shot at it. See, look at that. We're talking about me just trying to get into a baseball game day of. Look at that.
Yeah,
it is possible.
Yeah. And that franchise, despite the fact that they're behind the Cardinals, you can't fault their effort. They signed Adames. They gave Chapman the extension. They traded for Devers. They've done a lot of good things. Their best pitcher, Roop, last night, I don't know if you saw it, he got hit on the knee with a pitch, and he had to be taken off the field on a cart, which wasn't very great for him. I felt bad for the guy. But the Giants are trying. Buster Posey, as their Pobo, is doing a really good job. A legendary weekend is coming to St. Louis in just a couple of weeks. You don't want to miss the Stiefel Charity Classic presented by Compliance Solutions. It's September 4th through 7th at the historic Norwood Hills Country Club. Watch PGA Tour champions tee it up and compete. And just some of the names that were at the top of the leaderboard last year, along with winner Y.E. Yang, Bernhard Langer, Stuart Sink, Justin Leonard, Chris DeMarco, Darren Clark, and more. Plus, you can enjoy a live performance by music sensations OAR at Friday's community concert presented by CarShield. Tickets start at just $20. Kids, military veterans, and first responders get in free. And don't forget, Friday, by the way, is Folds Friday to benefit Folds of Honor. Get your tickets today at StiefelCharityClassic.com. That's StiefelCharityClassic.com. And we will see you at Norwood Hills September 4th through 7th for the Stiefel Charity Classic.
Okay, one thing I wanted to get to before we move on is Jim Bowden was on foul territory just the other day.
Former GM Jim Bowden.
Former GM, and he's not talking about player stuff here. He's talking about the realignment thing that I wanted us to get into. So here was Jim Bowden talking about how he breaks it down east-west in the realignment of baseball.
High, big market, small market conference, and let the big market play against each other, the small market play against yours in the big market.
Yeah, I mean, look, I actually gave that some thought when I was GM of the Cincinnati Reds. I was trying to argue, let me put me in a market with teams that are paying the same amount of payroll that I am. So, we can laugh at it. But obviously, I think geographically is how we should do it. And to your point, you play most of your games in the Eastern Conference and you stay there. And yes, you play one series, perhaps 1 year on the road and the next year on the road against those other teams, but maximize the amount of games that you have in your time zone. I think that's the way to do it.
So you saw
this is his idea. This is Boden's idea.
Yes, you saw this
clue.
right out of the gate. The thing we have to criticize the most is, of course, that Southwest division there: the Houston Astros, the Kansas City Royals, the Texas Rangers, and obviously the just geographic sensible rival to all three of those teams, your St. Louis Cardinals.
And why would any Cardinal owner be willing to give up the rivalry with the Cubs? And why would any owner, when they share revenue, give up the Cardinals-Cubs rivalry?
They wouldn't.
And why would the Dodgers give up the Giants rivalry? This is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life. And does he have the same barber as Mark Davis?
Thank you very much for commenting on the bowl cut. I've always wanted to point that out.
That'll never happen. And the Athletic did it right.
Yes.
Just move Colorado to the American League, move Tampa to the National League, and you can set up a really good, solid geographic situation. What good will it do to have the Yankees and the Mets playing in the same division?
I don't get that either. Joe's Roderick's big on that too. I don't see the point of that. I don't think of them as like natural rivals. Like all the New York teams, just like it's kind of like the LA one, or it's just like, or the Chicago one. It's like you have your team and it's a fun interleague matchup every once in a while, but it's just like, I don't think of them as natural rivals, like Knicks and Nets, Giants, Jets. Like I don't think of the New York teams as natural rivals. It's fun when they play each other, but like Islanders and Rangers, like maybe that's more of one, but like it's fun when they play each other, but it doesn't feel like the same heft of anywhere close to Yankees, Red Sox.
No. And if you are television, do you want to risk having a Subway Series like we had in 2000, but not having one? And I know it doesn't happen very often.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is. It's great. I don't know why, if you were baseball, why you would want to take the chance of giving up Dodgers Angels World Series, Giants A's World Series. Well, the A's are going to be in Vegas now, so that doesn't matter. But a Mets Yankees, I don't know why you'd want to give that up. And the other part of it is you do want to have a game for each team. I think you want to cover the market if you're baseball. So you want to have a game from the National League and the American League every day in those cities.
Just like think about how soulless what Bowden put out here. Bowden, sorry, my bad. For sure, the East Division is fine.
Give me the East again.
Red Sox, Mets, Yankees, Phillies. You get Mets and Phillies. You get Red Sox, Yankees. That's fine. But listen to how just like useless the rest of these divisions are in his Eastern Conference.
Again, I don't. Part of that is the Mets and the Yankees being in the same division.
Yeah, I don't need it, but I see it. But here's the North Division: the Reds, the Indians, the Tigers, and the Blue Jays. A soulless division, pointless. What are we doing here? His Mid-Atlantic division: the Orioles, the New Charlotte team, the Pirates, and the Nationals. Soulless. And part of that clip, he was talking about how it makes sense to line up markets, both from geographic. His Southeast division in the Eastern Conference is the Marlins, the Rays,
beautiful,
the new Nashville team. And so right there, you have a team that never spends but is pretty good, a team that never spends and sucks most of the time and never draws, two teams that never draw, an expansion team, and then the Atlanta Braves. So he says when I was the GM of the Cincinnati Reds, I wanted to be in GM where everyone was spending the same money as me. And so his solve to that is to give the Atlanta Braves the ability to shit kick their division every single year without ever having to think twice about it, because they're going to be the only one actually spending any money for the most part, at least 10 years into the Nashville build, and then Tampa Bay and Miami. Why are you handing the Braves an entire division? This is dumb.
Maybe he's a fan.
Maybe he's a fan. I don't see any part of it. Baseball is problematic. There are things to fix.
Here's the thing. This is Jim Bowden. He's been in baseball a long time. He should know better than I know, but clearly doesn't, that the Yankees and Red Sox, and he's got them in the division, I think, will always be together. Yes. The Dodgers and the Giants will always be together. Mark Walter and Larry Baer are not going to vote for a plan that would not have them be a rival and playing each other on a regular basis. And the Ricketts family and the DeWitt family are not going to vote for a change that would require them to be in different divisions. That's just not going to happen.
A couple things here. Skywalker 1982. Why make baseball more regional than it already is? It makes no sense. I agree 100%. Mogger Frogger says, wait, so how will the NL and AL leagues be divided up then? I missed that part. You missed it because it's stupid and it makes no sense. But the AL and the NL in this idea are dead. They are no more. For some reason, the 130 years of history in baseball don't matter anymore. It's just for a hunk of metal anyhow. So we're now playing East-West. Major League Baseball is now the NBA.
Yeah,
but not the good parts.
I think I hope there are too many sensible owners out there to prevent that from ever happening.
Dave Mullen says, I know Rocchio isn't talking about somebody's haircut. Yeah, I'll make fun of anybody else's haircut. You kidding me? You kidding me? I don't got a lot going for me, buddy. So this I'm taking to the bank on everybody's head. Sorry about you.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that.
Okay, so did you have the athletic one? So here's the athletic one. The athletic one has the American League set up where the AL East is Baltimore, Boston, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays. Makes sense. AL West, A's, Angels, either Salt Lake City or Portland, and Seattle. And then the AL North, White Sox, Guardians, Tigers, and Twins. And then the AL South, the Rockies moved to the American League, Houston, Kansas City, and Texas.
You are going to lose some natural things, but essentially all the Athletic does is move two teams that don't have a strong connection to their leagues, in the Rockies and in the Rays. We're talking about expansion teams. Those are the teams that should be moving across different leagues, not necessarily cities, but across leagues. And then also he just lops off the least important rival to the rest of the league and moves them to another one to create these 4-team leagues. It sucks that the Cardinals are losing, or that the Central's losing the Pirates. Central loses the Pirates.
And the Cardinals have been ever since division play started in 1969. The Cardinals and Pirates have been in the same division, whether it was the NL East or the NL Central.
But that's one where I'm like, listen,
who cares?
I love Pittsburgh. To me, despite the fact that it's on the East Coast, it's always felt like a Midwest city to me. But that's, if we're going to have some casualties here, that's a completely reasonable one, as well as all the other ones that the Athletic.
And if I'm a Pirate fan, if I get the Mets and Phillies and Nationals in my division, those were all members of the old NL East, so I can resume my rivalry with the Mets and the Phillies and the former Expos, who are now the Nationals. Then the NL West would be the Diamondbacks, Doyers, Padres, and Giants, which is great. And right now, the best rivalry might be the Dodgers and the Padres. Then in the NL North, Cubs, Reds, Brewers, Cardinals, fine. And the NL South, Braves, Marlins, Nashville or Raleigh, and Tampa Bay. So you still have that division that you hate, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I guess we just can't even avoid that one. Just putting Tampa Bay and Miami in the same one makes sense. So, that's what you do. You're right. But hey, but here's the thing. The Athletic isn't sitting there putting that division together saying the point here is to get the same market sizes together. Like that's the problem with Bowden, is that he makes that point and then presents that division, which is just a broken way to put it.
So and then what you do is you play your rivals 18 times in a season. So you got 3 home series, 3 road series against everybody in your division. Then everybody in your league, you play home 3, road 3. Okay. So that's 12 more. So that's 144 games. And then you play a division in the other league. If you're the Cardinals, you play the AL East one year. So you play Baltimore 9 times, 6 there or here, and 3 there or here. Baltimore, Boston, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays. So 9 games against each of those. That's 36. That gets you to 162. And then the next time you play the AL East. So next year, if the Cardinals would play the AL East, they'd play 6 at home against Baltimore, 3 on the road. The next time we would do that 3 years later, we'd flip that. And so it'd be
6 away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. So, and that'd be as close to balanced as you could have. The only difference that you would have in a division race between the Cardinals and the Cubs is that you'd have 3 more road games against Boston, Baltimore, the Yankees, or Toronto, and you might wind up theoretically playing the exact same schedule, which would make a division race more fair. And then stealing a page from the NFL playbook, which is perfect, you get interleague play, and if you want to see Aaron Judge, every 4th year, Aaron Judge comes into your city.
Yeah, I like it. You're doing it kind of like the old NFL schedule. And
It's
I think
like
that's
the current.
Yeah.
Well, the 16-game NFL.
Yeah, the 16-game NFL schedule, because now it's I actually don't
convoluted.
know how they do the 17th game every year. I don't know how they rotate
I think
it.
they do it for TV.
Is it random? Is it like completely kind of
Feels
random?
like it,
yeah,
yeah.
that's fair. Because it used to be this beautiful synergy of 6 against your division, one full division in your conference, one other division in your opposing conference, and then one team from each of the other 2 divisions in your conference that you don't already play. It was a beautiful. You could plan it out years in advance. I love the NFL schedule. Speaking of comparing to other teams, Anthony C. and Thundercat both saying something along these lines. Baseball rivalries are pretty much dead anyway. Rivalries are pretty much dead, especially with playing everyone now. How long did it take to play the Cubs this year?
And that's why I would switch back and have rivalries. And the other part of rivalries is, and I think we talked about this yesterday, rivalries, if they aren't natural geographic rivalries, and I think there's only 3 in baseball, they're a product of teams being good. So at one point, late 2000, from 2010 to 2012 or so, it was the Cardinals and the Brewers. Before that, it was the Cardinals and the Astros. Cardinals and Astros had a great rivalry. Cardinals and Reds had a great rivalry when Tony and Dusty were the managers. Cards and Cubs had a great rivalry when the Cubs were good. The Cardinals and Giants were both really good in the late 80s, 87, 88, 89. And that was a great rivalry. The rivalries are the product of both teams being good. You really can't manufacture it unless it is geographical. And I think to build up a little disdain and play each other a lot, I think that's another thing that makes a rivalry great, is that you can get to hate each other a little bit.
Player rivalries are the new rivalries in all sports. Look at how the NFL markets: Mahomes versus Allen, Mahomes versus Jackson, Daniels versus Stafford. You can look at the same in the NBA: Wembanyama, LeBron versus Durant, LeBron versus Curry. I don't know if it works with baseball, because you don't. It's pitchers versus hitters, and then everyone else is out on the field together. It's like getting a punch out or getting an out. Being the guy who got the throw from shortstop to first base doesn't feel like it adds to any personal player rivalries and things like that.
So, try to manufacture a Shohei Ohtani rivalry. What would it be? I mean,
him versus the IRS.
Oh, that might be.
Put that one on a tee for me.
Could you really have, if Shohei is not pitching on a particular day, and you have Ohtani and Judge in the same game, can that be a rivalry? Because they never face each other. Now, granted, quarterbacks are different, right? So you had Brady and Manning, and sure, that was a rivalry. But I don't know if you can really have that these days. Moger Fogger says, we need another Clemens versus Piazza. That was fun when Clemens threw the bat back at Piazza, but I don't know that was really a rivalry.
Victor Robles, you're my hero, by the way.
Victor suspension.
Victor Robles, you're my hero. They're doing you wrong, all right? Gattaca. I mean, get him out, put him back in. He got hit like 9 times in like a 3-day span by the same team and the same pitcher. I'm on Victor Robles' side. If they hit me with a ball, I also have a weapon now, and you just threw yours. I might just throw mine.
Like Luther, by the way, Mahomes and Allen are never on the field at the same time, and it works for the NFL.
No, it's dumb.
So how would you? And so when Mahomes played Allen, it was like in the game, the 13-second game. It was great. You have 2 guys playing the same position, elevating their teams. But Tell me how that would work in baseball, that you could have two guys that are never on the field at the same time. And so they come up to the plate 4 times a game, unless it's a starting pitching rivalry.
Yeah, you can't do it with people's attention span right now. It's the guys bat too far away from each other.
Yeah. And so I think the quarterback rivalry does work a little bit better.
Margaret Frogger says Yachty versus the Reds. Yeah, but you got to have people throwing punches to,
and the
to
Reds
develop
were good
that.
at that time.
And also that also ruined a guy's career. That whole thing ruined a guy's career. We're sorry, Jason LaRue.
Yeah.
Chris Widener, I agree with swapping out the Reds in Cleveland with the Astros and Texans for the Cardinals division. The problem there is if things are going geographic, if you steal the Texas teams to go with St. Louis, you're not going to get the little bubble that puts all 4 teams in the same thing. It's not going to go all the way up to Chicago. They're going to wrap it around Kansas City, and then we lose the Chicago Cubs. So I understand you want the Texas teams, but you can't get the Texas teams and the Chicago Cubs. That would be eating your cake and having it too. And they're not going to give that to most teams in baseball. They sure as hell aren't going to give it to the flyover state teams.
No doubt about it. By the way, this could be Ben F. Johnny Cueto. Yeah. He was the kicker.
Yeah. I do think like maybe don't push a guy into a wall.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not a good thing. Lex Luthor, by the way, Randy read my mind. Starting pitching would work. The problem is that starting pitchers only go 5 innings now. So when Seaver would pitch against Carlton back in the day, you could count on those guys going 7, 8, 9 innings. Even more recently, when Joaquin Andujar would pitch against Fernando Valenzuela, you could do that. So I just don't think that at this stage of baseball's existence is a doable situation.
Steve Wright watched the John Boy video closer than I did. It was 5 times by the team, 3 times by the same reliever.
Okay.
And I'm throwing my bat too. And it's especially too, because it's like he's not a career minor leaguer. He's a guy trying to go through a rehab.
World champion.
He's trying to go through a rehab assignment to get back to the major leagues. And he's taking bean balls left, right, and center.
Yeah.
He also, and John Boy pointed this out, he also needs to get a little bit better at getting away from some of those.
Oh yeah.
Because there was one where he turned into it to swing and it caught him on his back shoulder. And it's like, well, don't turn into the ball to swing at it, and you wouldn't have had your back shoulder there, my guy. So it's a little column A, little column B.
Yeah. It's feel bad for the guy.
Feel a little bad for him.
Yeah. But you know what? He was taking one for the team.
He was taking one for the team. I don't understand this East-West thing. We're going to keep seeing it. We're going to have to keep fighting against it. As soon as Manfred said it on the broadcast, it popped in my ears. Here's the thing. I think there's a chance we see realignment.
We'll definitely, once we have expansion, we will have realignment.
But there's a chance this East-West thing is something that we have to deal with multiple times in the next decade plus. Because I feel like that Manfred comment on the broadcast, that they will like the World Series is a more attractive broadcast thing for TV stations if it's East versus West because of the time zone factors. That is a real thing that was put into his brain by the TV people. And I don't think it's going to go away. And that's something that's going to be implanted into the brain of the next commissioner after Manfred by the TV people again. But so this is going to be a problem going forward, even if it doesn't happen in this first round of realignment.
But the TV people would have to pay for it.
True.
Because right now the TV people don't seem very enthusiastic about spending a bunch of money on baseball.
But when they re-up the World Series deal in 2 years, something tells me this is going to be something that still is getting talked about, because this reeks of a TV executive's way to figure out the ratings. And he's probably an idiot who doesn't know baseball. And so I keep thinking it's going to be something that keeps getting harped on. If it doesn't happen here, it's going to be something that keeps rearing its ugly head, because it's all about the money. It's all about the broadcasting. Well, that's why seasons will never get less games. That's why playoffs will never contract. They will only expand, and it lessens the quality.
And you're kind of forced, like, okay, you had East versus West last year, Dodgers and Yankees. That didn't do you any real good.
That's true. That's a good point.
Right? So you have to have good teams, and none of this will work if you're going to have East versus West. None of it will work unless you have across the board revenue sharing, which the owners have to enact, and then you have to have a salary cap, because unless you have a salary cap, it's going to be the Yankees and the Dodgers. It's not going to be the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, or the Royals and Tampa if you have them in different leagues. You're just not going to get that unless you have the ability of everybody to compete on an equal playing field. And you have that in the NFL. You have that in the NBA. Oklahoma City can have the highest paid player in the league. And you don't have that in baseball. Right? The highest paid player in the NHL is Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers. And you need to be able to have better revenue sharing if you're baseball, I think, and a more apt way to disperse salaries rather than having one player that's making more than a whole team is, which I think Soto is doing this year. I think Juan Soto is making more than the Pirates, something like that. You just can't have that and expect teams to be able to compete on.
That's pathetic. That's pathetic. Yeah, there's a lot of things to fix, and there's a lot of things that could get changed, and maybe some things will definitely get fixed at the when the lockout happens, because it feels just absolutely inevitable at this point.
Yeah.
So maybe things get better, but inevitably we'll be having some of these conversations post lockout, I think.
Yeah. So the AAV for Juan Soto is 61.875. And the payroll,
the adjusted payroll for the Pittsburgh Pirates this year is $83.2 million.
So there you go. Yep. How about that? That doesn't seem fair.
I get Jim's point about not wanting to play in a division with people who do that kind of stuff. And I get why the Yankees get pissed off when the Pirates do that kind of stuff. But there's got to be a solve for it other than just but like ownership's not like, is ownership really going to kowtow to things that force the Pirates to actually spend more than that? We'll see.
Yeah, you got a revenue share.
Yeah.
And then you have to have a salary floor. Pirates or the Marlins this year making $66.6 million as a team, and Juan Soto making $61 million as a player.
Margaret Frogger, revenue sharing is why we consistently have the Pirates, Rockies, and A's suck every year. Yeah, you got to combine. If you're going to revenue share, you got to have a salary floor.
Yeah,
I think that's what you know. If you look at the NFL and things like that, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and this is why revenue sharing and a salary cap / floor allow a team like the Green Bay Packers to be competitive every year, the Kansas City Chiefs to be competitive every year, the Pittsburgh Steelers to be competitive every year. And then at the other end of the spectrum, because intelligence is rewarded, that's why the Jets and the Giants suck, and why the Bears have not been good. Why for a long time, until the last couple of years, the Chargers, granted they haven't been in LA the whole time, but they have been rather inept. And what a salary cap and floor and revenue sharing do is puts a premium on intelligence in your front office. And if you have that, then you have a chance to win. So that's
sounds a lot like
I'm sticking to it.
Sounds a lot like the conversation we've been having about why the Brewers are good this year.
Yeah, there you go.
There seems to be a lot of connections between those two things. So, maybe
revenue sharing. He asked, "What's the good happy minimum?" Though, well, what you do is, and there's a lot that goes into these CBAs, but with the salary floor, you have to make it so that the players get 50% of the revenue. That's what it ultimately comes down to, is that every team has a range in which they spend, and you have to have a salary floor for every team, and you have to set it up so that they are as close to getting, the players are as close to getting 50% of the revenue as possible, and then the owners get the other 50% of the revenue.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Earlier in the show, your mom was telling us about a big win they got. Do you want to tell everybody how they can line up like you mama and get a big win today? Oh, brother, you mama did really well, because what he did, and it was a very smart move, he took my advice on Sandy Alcantara. I don't always have really super smart moves, but for yesterday, I did. I went with Sandy Alcantara, and then he went with Gino Suarez to hit a home run, made $500 with DraftKings Pick 6, where the crown is yours. And you can do the exact same thing, because nothing beats relaxing on a day like today than enjoying the simplest way to get in on the action, downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings.
It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less of the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and you'll be in the mix for big cash prizes like you mamas, $500. Pick 6 available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for smaller payouts. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers get $25 in bonus picks with your first deposit of $5, just $5. So what I'm looking at today, my man, is I'm going to look at our
another Cardinals strikeout total.
Well, I'm not going to do that right now.
Okay.
I'm going to look at our PGA Tour Championship first round, and I'm going to go Justin Thomas to go
it's Thursday,
over.
isn't it?
Yep.
It's Thursday.
Over 69.5 strokes for JT in the first round of the PGA Tour Championship. So that is where I'm starting. And then I don't think I'm going to go to Tampa. I think I'm going to go with something.
Wait a second.
What?
I don't know if you need to leave the golf. Randy, you can get Scotty Scheffler.
I don't go Scotty Scheffler first round.
So, that's a good point. Never mind. You're right.
So what I'm going to do is
you could bet on more strokes than 66.5.
I'm not going to do that either.
Okay.
I could go either way with him.
Fair enough.
But you know what I'm going to do today? At Colorado,
okay,
against Dolan, who has an earned run average north of 6.
Are you going to pick to click?
Freddie Freeman to go yard.
Oh, pick to click. Freddie Freeman to go yard. I like it.
Yep.
Okay, that's a good combo. We're starting with 2. You can always build it out to 6.
I'm just going to go with those 2 today.
Right. I like giving our listeners 2 to start with, and then if they feel like there's something tricking their brains, like we give you the Alcantara, over 4.5 strikeouts, more than 4.5 strikeouts, and you just got to build from that. Get 2, add a third and a fourth if you're really feeling comfortable about it, but you can always just roll for 2 if you want.
Yeah. So that's what we're going with, and all you need to do is download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use this promo code right there, STL Sports, to get $25 in bonus picks with your first deposit of $5. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with your first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings, where the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, we're going to do a little football here. I want to start with this because these Raider fans are just nuts.
Oh, no.
And so last year, apparently, well, not apparently, it did happen. 3 bullets were shot into the Chiefs facility in Kansas City, and one of them went into Andy Reid's office while he was sitting there working at night. And it hit a wall like 15 feet from where he was sitting. But yeah, a bullet fired into Andy Reid's office last year. And since then, they have installed bulletproof glass in his office for added protection. I don't know if they were actually targeting Andy Reid or if it was just a Raider fan shooting at the facility, but kind of scary stuff. Sounds like something that would happen here.
I was going to say, they tell you the west side of the state's so safe.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's horrible.
Is there a practice facility on Troost?
Yeah, Jesus. That's insane. I'm glad, obviously glad he wasn't anywhere near it, and glad they've taken the precautions by adding the bulletproof glass. We can't lose Andy Reid.
No,
he's one of not the good ones. No. He's one of the great ones.
He is a national treasure.
And he's one of those guys who's piping an old school coach. He's one of the only coaches in the NFL, like non-young ones, that I truly believe actually tries to add new things to his repertoire every year. I think a lot of old coaches get stagnant and they just lean on what works. And Andy Reid has now for 20 plus years always been at the forefront of offensive changes. Even now in his old age, he's one of the purest people we have. We can't lose him.
Yeah. They're shooting at the cans.
Oh my God.
Did you ever see the movie The Jerk?
I have, yes.
Okay.
That's just this could be Ben said, he's still super innovative. Yeah. And
yes, he's great.
He adds things that you just don't see coming.
Makes it fun for the players.
Makes it so much fun for the players.
Yep. So that's where we start, but we've got more football in the state of Missouri. And yesterday came a release to us from the University of Missouri Athletics Department that Eli Drinkwitz had made a decision in regards to his.
You can't call it that. You can't call it that. He didn't make a decision.
Well, he kind of did.
He announced something.
He announced that he had,
but I refuse to call it a decision.
Well, the decision was to not make a decision. So,
Thank you.
Statement from head coach Eli Drinkwitz, quote, "I informed the team this afternoon that both quarterbacks will play in the first game. I want to see them in a game day situation to make a final determination." He does not say which two. Is it Zollers and Pribula?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Zollers and Horn? We don't know who the two are. Or we're putting a new camera up, so you can only hear us at the moment.
We're running audio right now.
So it'll be Bo Pribula and Sam Horn against Central Arkansas 1 week from tonight at Faroe Field. And the question is, why is this happening? Is this all about who gives us the best chance to win? Or is there a little bit of gamesmanship here because you want Sam Horn to think he had a legitimate chance and you don't want him to leave right away for the Doyers? Or did somebody give you $2.5 million to pay Bo Pribula and you don't want to tick them off by saying, yeah, well, I know he's your player, but I'm not going to play him because I don't think he's good enough. He's been beat out by a guy that I already had. I hope that this is all about trying to figure out who gives Mizzou the best chance to win. And by the way, Matthew, I do think that the different skill sets probably play to the different skill sets of the people around them. There's got to be a reason that they shifted the offensive line around, right? So you want to have a guy with a little bit more mobility if they aren't confident in their offensive line. If their receivers aren't as good, you want to have a quarterback that has arm talent that can elevate those receivers. Pribula known more as a runner and Horn known more as a thrower. As a matter of fact, when the two came out and they were both in the same class, Pribula, I think, was the number 6 dual threat quarterback in the country, and Horn was the number 7 drop back quarterback in the country.
I think it's hard for me not to see what's happening. And this is where I was a week ago, and credit to Eli Drinkwitz. He made me kind of believe some of the things he was saying in the interviews. He's like, no one separated themselves. It's not because no one's had a bad day. There's bad plays, but everyone bounces back and shows immediately how good they are the next play. Little saber rattling maybe from Drink on that one, because I'm back on where I was about 10 days ago, which is if Pribula had done what they expected, he would have won the job and it would have been decided by now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm reading this as kind of off your thing. Not necessarily the NAL factor for me is they're still giving him the chance. Is that this is why it's still a lack of decisions going into this game, is because I think they're still trying to give Bo Pribula, some chances to show what he can be. And maybe this is just like the natural thing of like when you see your offense in a 7-on-7, it's harder to get a grasp of how effective the running game is because nothing's live tackling. Whereas, Kevin Coleman and company, and whether or not my quarterback can hit them, that's pretty live. Yeah. My cornerbacks are dropping back. They're playing full speed. Everyone's running 100%. They can't tackle, but that doesn't matter as much. I'm watching out if you're giving my guys hospital balls that'll get them killed in live action, but still the question in the passing game is drop back. Can you hit the pass? Sometimes with the running game, it's like, how much are you really seeing with the hole getting opened up and things like that? It's like, is it real? So I think part of this is neither player has separated themselves enough. But I think part of this is, to your point, the different styles they have. I think it's harder for the more running quarterback to separate himself in a 7-on-7 situation. But I do think that had Bo Pribula taken a little bit of a lead in camp, he would have been able to run away with it, because of what the overall want of everyone around Columbia is going to be. And the fact that didn't happen tells me that he didn't seize it, more so than it told me that Horn's playing well. I think Horn is playing well, but I'm still reading it more. I don't want to be negative, but I still am kind of reading this more in the glass half empty side of things than the glass half full.
Well, and the other part of this, and we both heard this story about when the USC quarterback Miller Moss came in to work out they had him working out at the same time as Sam Horn. They were both throwing to receivers. And legend has it that Moss saw this guy next to him and said, I don't really want to compete with this guy. And that's why he wound up at Louisville rather than at the University of Missouri, because maybe Sam Horn and his arm talent are a little bit better than people are giving him credit for being.
Yeah, there's obviously some magic in the shoulder down of Sam Horn, whether it's the baseball motion or the football motion. There's something pretty magical there for him. When you talk about the plan now going into the game, Brendan Schaefer laid out what I think is probably the best one on his Twitter, which is 2 drive rotation. Because then if the play calling calls for more runs in one of the drives, you're not depriving one of the guys' ability to like throw the ball a little bit or just the play calling overall, because obviously they are different quarterbacks. It gives them that chance. It gives them a chance to get some momentum. And also going quarter by quarter, you might get an uneven amount of possessions.
Right.
This way you guarantee an even amount of possessions. I think B-Shape's throw out there of two drives. I think that makes the most sense.
Or you could do what they did last time they had one of these controversies.
No, you don't do that, because then you're up 42-7 at half, and so the guy who has to play the second half isn't playing a real game.
Right, and that's what Horn had, like 6 throws, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a real game.
Yeah, and hopefully Central Arkansas will provide a little bit more stiff competition.
Well, somebody said that to Gabe DeArmor yesterday. They go, well, what if the game's close at halftime between again? And he goes, guys, if the game's close at halftime against Central Arkansas, the bets are all off about what this season's supposed to be.
Yeah.
We have a lot larger problems in the quarterback issue if the game's close at halftime.
Lex Luthor, is Bo the highest paid player at Mizzou? I believe he is.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
Victor Conlon, what happens if they both suck? I don't think the issue is that neither of them is bad. Both of them are bad. I think they're just both failing to separate, and I think there have been some issues with an offensive line that has been going through flux all of camp. And heck, maybe this says a lot about the defense. Maybe this defensive backfield that returned a lot of players and added some new ones in Jordan Catalan. Maybe they are going to be a really impressive defense, and maybe that's what we're seeing here, is that an offensive line that wasn't cohesive at all couldn't hold back, a group of pass rushers that might be the best unit on the entire team.
I hope that they're able to get after the quarterback. They do have a lot of investment in the defensive line, and the defensive tackle group apparently is the best it's been in a while in terms of experience and quality. And then you look at the couple of transfers that they brought in and a couple of veteran guys, they're loaded with people to rush the passer. So hopefully that will be the case. And they don't really have, in the last few years, they've always seemed to have that highly regarded linebacker. And I don't know if they really have that guy now.
Speaking of my love, Andy Reid and his Eagles, they have Josiah Trotter, son of Jeremiah Trotter. Let's go. He's a little bit smaller than his dad. He's not the absolute battering ram that Jeremiah Trotter was, but in today's day and age, you don't want that from your linebacker necessarily. So I'm really excited to see Josiah Trotter. I love a little NFL pedigree.
Okay. One other quick college football thing, and then we've got, I'll tell you right now, there's NFL preseason tonight, NFL Network, 6 o'clock, Steelers in Carolina, Aaron Rodgers not playing. I don't know if Bryce Young is. And then Prime Video at 7 o'clock, and I wonder if Al Michaels is doing the game. But you've got the Patriots and the Giants. I'm sure you will see Jackson Dart. Okay, so the first game of the college football season, the whole college football season kicks off with Kansas State and Iowa State in Dublin, Ireland.
Okay. Rocco Beck, baby.
Yeah. So if somehow the St. Louis Sports Commission was able to get Kansas State and Iowa State at the Dome to open the season, would you buy a ticket for that?
Would I buy a ticket for? Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
K-State and Iowa State?
Yeah, why not? I think fun.
I'm just wondering why people in Dublin, Ireland would buy a ticket for Kansas. It's not like they're doing USC and Ohio State here. They're not doing two historic juggernauts. In fact, I think we may not. It's kind of like Mizzou. I don't think either of those schools has a championship. I would not, if I were in Dublin, Ireland, I would watch that sucker on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I think trying to get Irish people,
all due respect,
and British people interested in football is in
college football.
It's pie in the sky. I don't think it's ever going to catch on big. Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to catch on big. It's so weird to me. I get the Notre Dame thing, but that's not the note to be taken. You know where you need to be taking some notes is from some much is some also more unlikely football programs, because this might seem odd, but I'm advocating people that we need to actually listen to what Arkansas, Memphis, and Middle Tennessee are doing right now.
What are we doing?
Arkansas just announced a new policy
yeah.
for storming the field. Following a momentous win, 3 minutes will be placed on the video boards inside Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium to delay the field rush and allow the visiting team, staff, and officials to exit the field. Right. At the conclusion of the 3 minutes, fans will be allowed down to the field to celebrate with the Razorbacks. I think this might get them around the fine.
Yeah, it does.
That's genius.
Yep.
This is, I'm sorry, this is the greatest thing that ever come out of Arkansas. This is genius. They finally solved it. I love it.
I don't know if it's the greatest thing.
Well, I mean, it's competing against like Jerry Jones and Darren McFadden.
Yeah. Oh,
Bill Clinton
football.
again. Arkansas football. Like this is. I'm saying. I think this might be the greatest thing.
Okay.
Well, that's all I'm saying.
It's a smart move on their part.
It's a very smart move. Moving down the road of credit.
Before we get to that, I want to go through the Mizzou home games quickly. You tell me yes or no.
Oh, okay.
Would you storm the field as a student? Any win here, okay? For all the home games. Central Arkansas?
No.
KU?
No.
Louisiana?
No.
South Carolina?
No.
UMass?
No.
Alabama?
What are they ranked?
8th.
No.
A&M ranked 19th.
No.
Mississippi State?
No.
Not a single storm field storming game for Mizzou
if
this year.
Bama's number one, if Bama's top 3, I'll change that one.
The best was like 0-3 when they beat Nebraska.
No, the best would have been when they scheduled Texas for homecoming like a bunch of morons.
Yeah,
I love you, Mizzou, but I think it was my freshman year. I think it was the fall of 2009. They scheduled for their homecoming game Colt McCoy led Texas. And Randy, you're going to be surprised by this. They did not win that game. In fact, they got their teeth absolutely kicked in.
How about when they scheduled Middle Tennessee State?
No,
to beat them
that one should have worked. That one should have worked.
Okay.
And how dare you bring that up when I'm about to give them credit for doing something? How dare you set me up for that? That was low. But first, fine. You know what? I'm going to ignore Middle Tennessee State for a moment. I'm going to give some credit to Memphis, who have potentially broken the mold and done something first. Maybe even in the NFL, Memphis has announced a sponsorship deal with FedEx that will include FedEx branding in the actual end zones.
Yeah.
Believed to be the first time ever for a college program or even an NFL team to sell out the entire end zone to one team for a sponsorship deal. Genius. Absolutely genius. Credit to USC, who sold the edges of their end zone last year to DirecTV.
Yep.
But I love that Memphis is saying, this is how we boost our NIL. This is how we get new money in. This is a really smart move. Use something that no one actually cares about, like the jersey. Use that for sponsorship realty.
I think that's a great idea.
It's a fantastic idea. And I really don't want to do this now that you mentioned what happened at homecoming, but Brooke's not here to completely dunk on me for it. So
okay, good.
Let's give some credit to Middle Tennessee State, who is saving almost $700,000 that they are then planning to put right back into the program and things like NIL. How are they saving $700,000? They're cutting back alternate uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
And from all the different kind of helmets they have. And they're cutting down to one kind of helmet that's going to be paired with 2 different jerseys.
How much does that save them?
$700,000.
Wow.
That they now can put into NIL and things like that. How are we going to best compete against different positions if we're sitting here spending money on stuff, really only wearing one time a year? The 3-year plan started with cutting 2 of their uniforms, the black and gray ones, and 4 different helmets. We just went with one color, and we did a game helmet and a practice helmet, and it's saving them over $500,000. $500,000 will come from the helmet reductions, and eliminating 2 uniforms will save $84,000 each. That's a lot of money for a program like Middle Tennessee State to be able to turn right around. And as they are saying, put it right back into NIL and things like that.
I wonder if Mizzou pays that, or if Nike provides payment.
I wonder
for helmets, it's probably them. But for jerseys, I think Nike takes care of them.
I love all these different ways. That's one fun thing about NIL is that teams got to get creative. I know people are going to bitch eventually when sponsorship patches come in on the jerseys and things like that. It's inevitable as well. But I will give credit where credit is due to teams doing things the smart way. NIL is going to matter. And all these different jerseys mattered. I mean, I know it was stupid. I know there's people who refuse to admit it, but Gary Pinkel had players tell him it mattered, and so he said that then I'm going to know it matters. Jeremy Macklin has commented on how it mattered to him when he was a kid, how kids that he coaches now, it matters to them. But Middle Tennessee State was smart to say, which one do you think is going to matter more to a kid? Me being able to pay that kid $50,000 to pay for my play football that year, or that he gets to wear 4 different helmets and look cooler?
One thing I've always said to and I'm an old guy, but one thing I've always said to the older guys, the Mizzou guys that are all about the block M, and it really does rattle around in their brain all the time. I said, it doesn't matter what you think. All that matters is what the 16 and 17-year-olds that you're recruiting think.
Here's the thing. If I'm a 16, 17-year-old, yeah, I care about how I look on the football field, and I'd like to have a different helmet. But if you're paying me $50,000, I can buy a Rolex, and then I look
but
cool.
You can have the best of both worlds.
Then I look cool after the games, and that's what I really care about.
Yeah. DeMarco Farr once told me that the NFL would set out the helmets on a table, and it would go like from safest to least safe. And he said, I always took the coolest looking one, which was always the least safe one. And I think Aaron Rodgers is doing the same thing. He's worn the same helmet for 20 years, but he doesn't like the look of the helmet that the Schutt company is presenting him. So he's still trying to figure out what helmet to wear. Maybe that's why he's not playing tonight. I don't know.
And that's why I like how Middle Tennessee is taking that away from the players and saying, we're going to pay you some money, and this is the helmet you're going to wear. I think it's smart. I think some college football programs need to take some notes.
I think that's a good idea. This has been fun. Thanks to our friends at DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Don't forget to get your tickets for the Stiefel Charity Classic at StiefelCharityClassic.com. And you can go watch OAR in concert there, too. That's going to be a lot of fun. What's your favorite OAR song?
Okay, so it's probably I hate giving the classics, but it's probably Wonderful Day, which is one of their top 3 songs. Like like the top 3 radio play songs are probably Shattered, Shattered, Turn the Car Around, Wonderful Day, and Love and Memories. Okay. And Wonderful Day is my favorite because, Randy, I'm a sucker for a saxophone solo.
Oh yeah, good.
And Wonderful Day rips a saxophone solo. And they're even better. They're even better when they're live. That's the fun thing about a jam band, is that in the song Wonderful Day, you play right now, the radio play, and it's a 30-second saxophone solo. Uh-huh. When you watch OAR out at Norwood Hills, if they play Wonderful Day, which they most likely will, you'll get like a minute and a half saxophone solo that goes completely into the song and everything. That's why jam bands are fun. That's why I'm so excited to see OAR, because I've never got to see them live. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I can't wait to hear the 90-second sax solo on Wonderful Day.
Beautiful. And learn more at StiefelCharityClassic.com. Wilson helped get us on the air. Great work as always by Matthew Rocchio. And tomorrow is Friday, so Bernie Miklas is going to be joining us. Looking forward to Bernard J.
And we have a little special presentation, a little picture, because Bernard J. Miklas is in a couple shots of the Netflix documentary on the Cowboys. Okay, and so we were able to find the picture of Bernie there, and we'll put that up when Bernie joins us tomorrow.
Okay, looking forward to that.
It's a lot of fun.
He doesn't even realize
No, he doesn't.
Okay, good. And so that does it for the Randy Karraker Show, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. We will see you tomorrow here on STL Sports Central. So long.